hour is meant primarily for insurers, self-insurers, third-party administrators, and trading partners. So if that's you, you're definitely in the right place. Or if you're someone else and you're listening in to learn, then you're also very welcome as well. So thanks for being here today. Just a reminder that we are going to be recording this session, and the reason we're doing that is with our other training sessions and demos is then we can post it online for those who could not attend, or for any of you, if you want to go back and review something that we talked about, we'd like to go ahead and get that done. So I believe that everyone is on mute. If you find that you are not on mute, and maybe just double check to make sure you're on mute so we don't get any background noise, but you can unmute yourself with questions. We also have the chat feature that we'd like to utilize. If you can type questions in there, it's really helpful. Angie was going to help go over some of those questions and bring my attention to them as they pop up, and we can hopefully get those questions answered. But if that is not working, or if it's more appropriate and you need to unmute yourself to ask a question, that is something we can work on as well if you find you're able to do that. So again, welcome. My name is Melissa Parrish. I am one of the compliance supervisors, a work comp program supervisor here at the Department of Labor and Industry, and I have been given the pleasure of running these answer hours for a couple times now, and then today and the next couple weeks as well. And my main purpose here is going to be doing some demonstrations, so I hope that that is of use to you all and helpful. I first wanted to jump on over to our department website here. And some of you might already have the campus training page bookmarked, which is excellent if you do. But if you don't, you can simply go to the dli.mn.gov and follow the links for workers' compensation, and then Work Comp Campus here on the right. There's a lot of good information here for Work Comp Campus, but I'm going to bring your attention to this training link here to show you that we do have training open to register for now, which is great. It's something we've been talking about the last few weeks. So I'm happy to say that it is available for your registration. There's a table here, and it kind of tells you the training sessions and who the training is aimed at. So you can see for like the insurers, self-insurers, TPAs, and I'd also put trading partners in this group. We have a few that I'll talk about just really briefly. We have an external user campus view coming up next week. The idea here, of course, it would have been really great to have more people be able to come to DLI and kind of get into campus a little bit, as was planned originally. COVID kind of threw a few things off, as everyone is well aware. So this will be a chance, we're hoping for you to watch a training and kind of see, without actually being at DLI to do it, to see kind of what your view is going to be and get a little more familiar with the system, which we think will be helpful. On October 14th, there's a group management training here meant for all campus users. If you are going to be a group admin or you've received some communication or a survey about that, this is going to be a great training for you to go to. There's 2 of them, and again, they will be recorded. So never fear if you happen to not be able to make this one, but that would be an excellent training to go to. We have a training on uploading documents into campus also next week, later in the week. That's something that you can do in campus, and we'd like to walk you through that and kind of show you some tips and tricks on that. Let's scroll down further here. Responding to requests for information. I'm sure most of you on the call are probably familiar with our requests that we send out now. In current language with the paper forms, a common request might be asking for like a NOID or an NOPLD form, a notice of benefit payment form, things like that. Those will certainly continue in campus, of course, with the EDI spin on things, but we'll be saying we need a PY for a payment. Or we might say, like we do now, you show 10 weeks of temp total being paid, but it looks like it should be 12. Could you please update or explain if there's some explanation that can be done? So we want to make sure you know how to receive those requests for information and to then take that email notification, link back into campus, and give us the response that we need. Here is that second of the group management training happening on October 21st. And then we have the ever-present topic of penalties. We know that unfortunately it does sometimes happen. Hopefully it will be very minimal moving forward, but we will have a training here on if a penalty is received, how you would, if you get that notification, again, you can link into campus to view the penalty, file your objection, and do what you need to do with that penalty. So that'll happen on October 22nd. And then I'm going to scroll down just a little bit further here. The last one that we plan to offer for this group specifically is the what work do I do in campus, hopefully a bit of an overview. We wanted to put that at the end because we think during these demos and the trainings, there might be more questions that come up, some things that we can review a second time as needed when we get feedback, or maybe dive in a little more in depth. So hopefully that will be a good kind of wrap up to the training specific to this group on October 27th. And then I also just wanted to point out, if you go further down on the page here, there are, of course, the presentations and videos from past presentations. The eForm Basics is a great one. For those of you who are trading partners who are not filing EDI through a direct connect and not going through a vendor, but instead are doing the eForms and data entry of the FROYs and TROYs, this is a great presentation to get into some of those details. We can hit on it a little bit here and there as well, but because that is kind of a small subset of people using that, it made sense to have that be kind of a separate presentation. So if that speaks to you, please do link and take a look at that presentation and video. There's also some EDI documents here as well as other quick reference guides. So this is a good page to take a look at, not only to register for those trainings, but to look at past training. And then when the new trainings happen and are recorded, we will certainly be updating this page with those as well. So that is the training news that I'm happy to be able to report today.
Hey, Melissa, I've just got a couple things in the chat here I want to generally address. So there was a question about a training that said it was sold out and how you can register. I'm going to follow up with our training team and who has those set up. I think we ran into a similar issue last time with Eventbrite. So I don't believe that there are any kind of limitations on how many people can sign up for a given training. So I'll follow up with them and make sure that we address that. And then I also just put a couple things in the chat. If you're running into any issues with training, please just send an email to that dli.wcmp@state.mn.us and we can escalate it to the appropriate people. And then additionally, I got an email just they were wondering what page Melissa was on. So I went ahead and added the link to the chat. That is exactly what she was just looking at. Okay, perfect. And then one last question was, will any of the trainings be offered at another date? They will not be offered at other dates that we currently have published, but they will be recorded and the videos will be up on the website for review after the trainings occur.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Angie. And if you are someone who cannot happen to make a date of a particular training that is of interest to you, you can go back and watch the recording. And we know that as you're watching, you might have your own questions that had you been live, you would have wanted to type into the chat box. So utilize that WCMP email address to send some questions, or write your questions down. And if it's before one of the next demos, the next campus answer hours that I'm going to be helping with, you are very welcome to bring your question to this answer hour as well, and we can address them in the next few weeks and talk about it, because chances are a few of the questions someone else does, so we definitely want to get those questions answered. So today, my agenda here is going to be really focused on the campus demo. We're going to take a brief look kind of at a claim, but really focusing on some of the web forms. When we looked at the stakeholder feedback for the training that was previously offered, one of the things that came up time and time again was the web forms. What are they? Why do we use them? How do we use them? How do they submit? And so that's what we're going to focus on today. I will talk about the discontinuance web form and the benefit addendum web form. Now, attached to this meeting invite, Angie had uploaded the PDFs of quick reference guides for those two web forms. So as I talk here, if you want to take a moment and look at your meeting invite, again, both of the PDFs for the discontinuance web form and the benefit addendum web form were added to the meeting invite. You can click on those and have that PDF viewable so you can follow along. Maybe some of you saw it before and were already able to print it out and want to take notes. That's great as well. So those are available, and they will also be added to our website shortly in the next few days, I would imagine, here after this recording can be uploaded as well. So there will be more places where you can find it and even forward them on to other people who might be interested. But those reference guides, those quick reference guides, are available now on the meeting invite. If we have time, I'm going to look a little bit further into a claim and move on to the PPD web form, the permanent partial disability follow-up web form. And I don't have that quick reference guide attached to this meeting invite. I apologize for that. I got it to our communications department, but just yesterday. And so that has not been fully gone through the process where I could attach it today because I wasn't planning to go through it today. It's just if we have time, I will show you that web form and then follow up certainly with the quick reference guide that we will make available to you. If we get a lot of questions, which is kind of what I was anticipating, and we might not even get to that PPD web form, then that's on the agenda for next week. So either way, we will definitely take time to look through that web form. And then there's a fourth web form, the dependency benefit web form, that I didn't put on here yet because that'll be part of next week's demo, just to kind of give you a heads up on what the plan is there. And then we definitely want to have time for question and answer at the end of this demo, but I'd like to just reiterate again that you are very welcome and encouraged to put questions in the chat right away. And if you need to unmute and ask a question, that's fine as well. Sometimes when we're on the actual page of the question, it's easier to talk about it and see it versus waiting to the end. So please do ask your questions at any time.
There was, really quickly, Melissa, there was just a comment that some people aren't seeing the attachments in the invite.
Oh, no.
So those were sent in the invite yesterday. They were attached to the event invite. So it may be that you didn't see the updated event invite in your email. That would have just been sent out yesterday. But if for some reason you don't see the attachments right now, they will be added to that same training link that I posted up above after this meeting. So I will go ahead and see if I can send them to everybody, or if I can add some of the documents to this meeting right now.
Perfect. Thanks, Angie.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to jump over now to my browser here, and I'm going to show you the sign-in page here for WorkComp Campus. Of course, when we go live on 11/2, and you all will have a link and be able to go and actually sign into Campus, and that will be very exciting after all this time. We're looking forward to that, and you'll be able to do this yourself and sign up for your own account. There is a sign up button here. I'm going to click on it, but I'm not going to walk through every step simply because I know we went in depth with the Campus 101 training. And if I get a lot of feedback in the future and I want to walk through this further, I certainly can. But it is a pretty brief and easy one-page registration here of your name information, some contact information, and then, of course, your account email address and password, and some accepting of terms and conditions, making sure you're not a robot, all the usual things that you will sign up for Campus. Many of you will be getting invitations to sign up for Campus, which will be part of that group admin training that we do. So a lot of you will get into it that way, which will be great as well. And once you sign up for Campus, you'll get that confirmation email and be ready to be off and running in Campus. So I'm going to pick up from there as someone who has already signed up for Campus. And forgive me, I'm not always going to be great at talking and typing at the same time. But here I am signing in for Campus. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And every time you log in, you will get this access requirements acknowledgement. You can go ahead and click that you agree to it if you want to proceed. And I'm going to show you the view here as a trading partner first. I want to show you a couple different things today. This is my trading partner persona, and you can see here on my dashboard, I have some of my basic trading partner details here, including an account overview that will give you a nice visual of your transactions that you're submitting. I look really nice right now with my 100% accepted transactions. I'd like to be able to brag about that, but in reality, I am signed up as an e-form submitter trading partner. And when you are an e-form submitter, you will always be 100%. So congratulations on that. That'll be great. You will be someone who, if there are errors, it simply won't let you submit. It'll have you correct the errors first. So that's a nice thing to see there when you're on the e-forms. I'm going to scroll down a little bit further here, and you can see some first action information and some of the claims here that I've submitted. Mine, you can see a lot of the same names simply because I'm repeating information as I created some claims here to show you some functionality. You, of course, will have lots of different names one would anticipate. And you will also have probably a lot more than 8 claims. This is a pretty small profile I have right now that I've created. And so I wanted to show you, if you are here looking for a certain claim and you've got a list of a few hundred or 1,000 claims, instead of scrolling through it, of course, there is a filter functionality over here on the side. If you click on that, and you can get to your, for example, if you want to look for a claim by your claim admin claim number, you can select that and add in your value. And I'm going to go ahead and do that and apply. And it would narrow it down to the claim that you wanted to be able to see. Here's my JCN, which is also the campus file number, which is a hyperlink, and you could follow that to your page. So you can, that's a little bit of an easier way, and you can go ahead and filter by any of the columns here. So if you wanted to filter by date of injury or that JCN, for example, you could certainly do that. I can click here to exit off of my filter and then bring me back to like kind of my main page here with all my different claims. Oh, I think I hear someone off mute. Sorry, did someone have a question for me? Maybe just a bit of background noise, which is fine too. But if someone does have a question, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, so Melissa, this is Angie. I'm not sure, I didn't see who came off mute, but I did get just a couple questions and wanted to address a couple things. So if you do not see those attachments in the invite, as I mentioned, those will be posted after the answer hours. So we'll make sure that those are up on that training link. There was a question as to whether there are other quick reference guides available on the website. I know that there are a few, but if there's something specifically that you're looking for, please just send that in the chat and we'll let you know if there's a quick reference guide available for that. And then there was just another question about how long it would take to get the confirmation email once you register for campus. It's pretty immediate. It's within a couple minutes.
Yep, I would, when I've done it, I went straight to my Gmail and hit refresh a couple times. I think it was there within about 30 seconds or a minute. So it is pretty quick.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Melissa. One last question that just came in, and I'm actually going to hand this over to you because I think you might be a little bit more familiar with this process. How will claim administrators be able to get info regarding untimely claims?
Oh, sure. Well, for one thing here, if I'm on my trading partner profile page and I can go right down here to the first action tab that I am on, and it talks here about whether or not something's been timely. So you can kind of have a view. And if you wanted to filter by that and filter out any of the yeses, for example, I have one here that shows that it does not say yes for timely based on the data that was received and the date that this was received. You'd be able to get it that way. And there will still be I know many of you are familiar with that prompt first action report. That is a yearly report that we put out that will still be happening, and we will use the data from the claims being submitted to publish that report yearly. I believe it's January still each year that gets sent out. Hoping that answered the question there. All right, let's see here. I was going to show you, yep, okay, sorry. So as far as the profile here, and I was going to go into my form history here, you can see there's a list of SHROIs and FROIs that I've submitted, along with, you can see my trading partner ID, or I'm the one who submitted it, and some basic information on that. So that's just a few of the tabs here you can see as a trading partner. Now I wanted to go in briefly to let's see here. I'm going to go into this top claim, I guess. And again, I'm picking one here. If you're looking for something specific, you can utilize that filter option to find it by your own claim number, for example, or by the JCN. But I wanted to give you a brief look before I do want to focus more on the web forms, but I'm going to show you a brief look here at the claim that you can see. Here's that JCN or claim campus file number right at the top here underneath the employee's name and date of injury, along with some basic information on the claim. The claim overview has a few things highlighted here. If there's a green highlight around it, it's because it's applicable to the claim. So we know on this claim that the employee had received indemnity benefits, there has been a suspension and a return to work filed. For example, this claim involved in dispute is not highlighted in green, so we know that's not applicable to the claim. As of yet, there hasn't been a dispute. We've got some further claim details here, and I'm going to kind of scroll down. There's a few different accordion areas that you can highlight click on to expand. So I'll show you this bottom one here. The suspension details is going to be relevant to our conversation shortly, that there was a suspension submitted effective 4/10/2019, and it gives you the narrative over here of the employee being released to return to work with restrictions, but refusing light duty that was offered by the employer. So that's going to be kind of the catalyst for why we're going to do our web form shortly. At the very bottom of the claim here, we have a few different tabs. The party tab, for example, you can go through the employee and the different parties involved in the claim. I wanted to point out this employee ID number, the EE number. That is your WID that you are all familiar with. So you would be able to find the employee's WID right down here is one good place to be able to look. And on the tabs up here, I'll click on, for example, the benefit summary here is going to show the different rows of benefits that have been paid, along with kind of the total that keeps growing and the benefits paid. So you can see that matches with the total amount of benefits up here. And of course, some of this I know I'm breezing right through because I want to focus on that discontinuance web form next. There will be time in some of the future trainings to look at some of these tabs even more in depth, but I wanted to kind of get everyone on the same page here looking at this. Also show you real quick the reporting history on this particular claim. You can see that a first report was submitted. There's 2 rows for the initial payment, the IP. One would lead you to the EDI information, but then also if you click on, I'm going to open in a new tab here. Click on the actual hyperlink when there is one, it's because there's a document that you'd be able to see. And I'm going to let my age show for a second here and go ahead and zoom in a little bit more on this form. You can see here is the NOPLD form that was created from the IP submission, kind of talking about the payment that was made. So you can do that all from the reporting history here on this claim, as well as take a look at the different payments here. Now, this is on my list that I have put in a question on because I believe this isn't supposed to show twice. I apologize. I'm working on that, but the key being that there is a row here showing that there was the initial payment on the claim of $1,200 and the time period and the payment issue date.
Melissa, we've got a couple questions in the chat.
Great.
You can just cut in. So one of them is, why are you asking for the adjuster's date of birth? I would assume that's on the registration form. I can go ahead and field that one. So that is not a required field. So I believe that if you're registering as a certain type of user, date of birth may be required just for verification purposes. But for adjusters or anybody working as like a trading partner, so essentially anyone in this group, date of birth would not be a required field. But it's the same registration form that's used for everyone. So that's why date of birth is there, but adjusters do not need to fill out that field. A couple more here. If a claim is untimely, does it tell you why or what was untimely? That would be specific to the date submitted, correct, Melissa?
Yeah, so on that, what I showed you earlier, and I can get back to it, where it talks about whether it was timely or not for first action, that is specific to the first action. So in this case, we're going to talk about, let's see here, first action reporting. It will always be related to, like, if you're talking about a course of form, the date the form was received versus when it was due, but then the first action of getting that payment or denial in. And that's based on the data that would be submitted by you saying when the employer was aware of the claim loss time, and then, of course, the date that the payment was made or the denial was submitted.
And last question, or 2 more questions, sorry. Is the trading partner the same as an insurer?
The trading partner very well is an insurer. So the trading partner is who's actually submitting the EDI. They're the ones who have the agreement, the trading partner profile, and agreements to submit the EDI filings, either via a direct connect, using a vendor, or through the e-forms where they can file the EFROIs and ESHROIs. So it's really going to be the claim administrator of the claim. And when you sign up as a trading partner, you are going to list yourself as either being, for example, an insurer, or perhaps you're a third-party administrator. In some cases, you might be both. So it depends on the trading partner who is signing up and what they actually are.
Great. And then I think there was just one more, or I'm sorry, there's a couple more now.
Okay.
What is a JCN? And I think that got answered in the chat, but Melissa, I think it would be great if you could just explain that a little bit further.
Absolutely. So JCN is one of those lovely EDI terms. It is a jurisdiction claim number. So when an EDI, first report of injury, is submitted to us, no matter how it is submitted, if it comes through a vendor, if it comes through a direct connection from a trading partner, or via the e-form, when a FROI is submitted and accepted, we are going to create that jurisdiction claim number, and that will be part of the acknowledgement that goes back to the trading partner to say, hey, we got your FROI, we accepted it, here's the acknowledgement, and here's that jurisdiction claim number. So it really is the unique identifier for the claim in our system. It is also referred to in campus sometimes as the campus file number. And so if you see like a CL number, CL dash, and then 9 digits, that is that JCN number.
Is that the same as the WID number?
No, but really good question. Thanks for pointing that out. So the worker identification number is unique to the individual. The jurisdiction claim number is unique to the claim. So if I, being Melissa Parrish, if I had work comp injuries, I would have one WID number for myself, and that would follow me for every claim I have. So if I have 10 claims, the same WID would be my WID number on all 10 of those claims, versus the jurisdiction claim number is unique for the claim. I would have 10 separate JCN numbers, one for each of my claims. Good question, though. And then, Angie, did that cover all the ones from the chat at this time?
I'm so sorry. I was talking to you on mute.
Oh, okay.
So a couple more questions
Sure.
Did pop up. So let's just go ahead and knock those out. So one was when we send the SROI through our trading partner, which I assume you're referring to as your vendor, your EDI vendor, the company who submits them on your behalf. Will the form be created in campus, and what is the timeline as to when the form will be created and available in campus?
Good question. So yeah, when a form needs to be created, when it's applicable, it will be created in campus. And I wonder if I happen to be still on the same page. Oh, you know what? It's part of the, I'm thinking of part of the EDI guide. I don't want to scroll through a 100-page document right now on the phone, but there is, unless Angie, if that is I'm trying to remember if that was a separate quick reference guide, but I can certainly direct people to the right page in the EDI guide if not.
Yes,
okay.
It's on page 7 of the EDI guide, the implementation guide, the Minnesota one, I believe.
So if people would like to see it, I can certainly show you here quick. I am going to, again, in our DLI website, we have an EDI page here. If you go down to the implementation guide, those of you who are training partners, of course, are very familiar with this. But I will just quickly, if I get to page, sorry, I hope I'm not giving anyone a headache with this scrolling, but here we are on page 7. And it lists the different MTCs, so the maintenance type codes are over here on the side. For example, the FROI. The 00 being the original, and then it will list whether or not a form is returned by Minnesota, and also if legal service is required or a copy to the employee is required. So when a form is created, it is created in campus, and I think it's pretty immediate. Like when I've tested it out, by the time I've gone through my process and gone back to the claim to look, I've been able to see it. Does that seem to be your experience, Angie? I don't want to misspeak, but okay.
That's correct. It's pretty immediate. And then if you have a vendor, an EDI vendor, I would recommend just touching base with them to see if there's anything you would need to do on your end for them to get those forms back to you. Those are also sent back with the EDI acknowledgements in a zip file. So you wouldn't always need to log into campus to grab those. Your EDI vendor may just be able to send you that zip file. And then a couple more questions, Melissa. Are we unable to file a SROI without having a JCN?
Correct. You would need to have that JCN to submit your subsequent report of injury. Yes.
And then there was one more question. How many numbers do we need? I would assume that is in reference to the WID and the JCN discussion. Those are the only two unique identifiers that are generated by Minnesota as a jurisdiction.
And we do need both of those because, again, one is attached to an individual. And I mean, think of the WID kind of, it's obviously not a social security number, but the reason we have the WID is because we don't want to be using that social security number for privacy reasons. So we created this worker identification number that could be used instead, and follow that employee around to identify the employee without using that private information of the SSN that we, of course, are trying to limit and really not have floating back and forth in forms and such. And then the JCN is needed, just like for those of you who are claim admins, you have a admin claim number, you have a claim number because you need a number to identify your claim. Same here. So hopefully it does get to be a lot at times, but they all have their purpose, so they're pretty useful.
And one more question, one quick statement and then a question. I saw just another mention in the chat that a registration is saying that it is full. I mentioned this earlier, but I know some of you may not have been on the call quite yet. I'm going to follow up with our training team on that. I don't believe that there should be a limit to how many people can register for those. So that may just be something that was automatically set up when we set up those Eventbrite invitations. So we'll follow up on that. And then the question for you, Melissa, is the FROI not required to be sent to the injured worker?
It is required. Let's see here. Do I get back to my thing here? Here is the EDI guide again on page 7. We're looking at the original FROI 00. It is returned by Minnesota, and it is legal service required on the employee.
Awesome. I think we're all caught up in the chat for now.
All right.
Apologies if I missed your question. I had quite a few that we were running through. Just feel free to copy and paste it back in the chat.
Great. Thanks, Angie, and thanks everyone for your questions. So again, this was the claim I showed you a little while ago, and I had showed you on the suspension details that a suspension was being was submitted. And so I'm going to walk you through the discontinuance web form, because we have a situation here where an employee was their temp total disability benefits are being discontinued for a reason other than return to work. So if you want to grab out, for those who were able to get it off the meeting invite, your quick reference guide for filing a discontinuance web form. If not, I think even if you don't have it in front of you now, I think watching the screen will be really helpful to see it happen. And then there are lots of screenshots on that guide. So I think even if you receive it later, I believe it will be helpful for you, and we can certainly talk about it a little bit again next week as needed. But I'm going to, just for the sake of showing you how quickly you can log in and get this ready to go. If you are a claim adjuster and you are needing to file this discontinuance web form, helps if I can spell. And I'm going to go in as my claim adjuster self. Now you all will have, you won't have to be logging in and out. You will have your one login. I just happen to have a few here that I use for different purposes. And I'm going to log in here and show you my view as a claim adjuster. I made my name Melissa Claim Admin just to help myself keep my keep my profile straight here. So your name will show up here and you will know who you are, which is always a bonus. But I have this claim and I know a suspension was submitted, and in Minnesota, because of Minnesota rule, it is 5220-2630. If anyone wants to run off to that registrar and do some heavy reading today, there is a liability for the insurer to make compensation payments until at least the NOID is received by the department and served on the employee in cases other than return to work. And because of that requirement, we needed to supplement the EDI filing and have a document that could be submitted at the same time, served on the employee, and have payment made through that date. So that is where the discontinuance web form came. So this is one of those cases where when you're handling a claim and you are discontinuing benefits for reasons other than return to work, you will know that you need to file a discontinuance web form. So if I am here on my campus view as a claim admin here, and I can see, again, I'm pretty lucky. I've only got 8 open claims right now, but again, you can use this filter button if you want to kind of filter through your different claims that you have here. I know I'm going to go right to this claim of mine and find my injury, and I'm going to go up to the corner where it says submit a filing and click on that. Here in the submit a filing box, there are a list of different things that you are able to file. And we're going to talk about a few of them on these demos, but this first one today being the discontinuance. I'm going to click on that. And I am also going to click on save to get started. All right, so it pops right up with the notice of intention to discontinue benefit, and along with some of the basic claim information here that you can see that is pre-populated. And now I have the opportunity to tell the department what I am discontinuing. In this case, I'm going to be showing that I'm discontinuing temp total disability benefits. If there is an applicable MMI service date, great, you can plug that in right there. In my scenario I'm running through right now, I'm not going to be using that, but I am going to say the date I served on the employee. And because I'm using kind of an older claim here, I'm going to put in the dates from this old claim. As with everything you do, you always just want to be accurate with the actual date you served on the employee, you're going to serve on the employee, and the payment through date. So I'm plugging in my dates here as well. And if applicable, you want to also say the date you served on the employee's attorney. And let's see here. So explain why benefits are being discontinued. Much like the suspension, I'm going to say, and I'm going to use some shorthand here. Actually, no, I should type it out. Employee was released with so we need a factual legal reason for discontinuance always that is easily understandable to a person of average intelligence, so that when an employee gets their discontinuance, they can read it and say, that makes sense. It's not just a case law, for example. You don't want to just come in here and say per case law and expect someone to understand that. You do want to actually type out the reasons for discontinuance here. All right, and then we can go into attachments. Now, relevant, much like the NOID, for those of you, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with our notice of intent to discontinue benefit form that we've been using for forever in Minnesota, you do need to attach relevant medical reports or other documents when they are relevant. So I'm going to show you, I have, way at the end here, my very official medical report here that I've got. It is a PDF that I have ready to go that is just explaining the return to work with restrictions and what the restrictions are. So I have this document ready, and if I click on my upload document right here, it's going to open the upload document window for me. And you can do this a couple different ways. You can click right in the center here. Oops, sorry, I highlighted instead of clicking, and search on your computer, which I can show you a couple different ways to do, but also you can grab it. I'm grabbing it for my other screen right now. You can see I just grabbed my document. I can simply drag it and drop it right in the middle, and it'll go right there for me, which is convenient to be able to just drag it and drop it. The next thing you want to do, you can see the little asterisk right here by document type, and kind of like what we were talking about a moment ago with the date of birth on the registration not being required. When something is required, they'll have that little asterisk mark, and if you try and tab off of it, you'll also get this nice little red reminder that, oh, this is a required field. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to say that I have, we've got a few different options here of what you can say. I'm going to just say this is a report of workability or other medical report. And you'll see that the description is going to auto-populate from the document type that you chose, but it is editable. So if you want to go ahead and add in some information that might be relevant for you or make the description more specific, you do have that ability. Once I'm ready to go, I will hit upload. And now you can see that the attachment is listed here, the file type, my description, and there's the option to remove it. So if you accidentally upload the wrong document, you have the opportunity right now to go ahead and take that out. You also have the ability to upload more than one document. So if you have more than one relevant document, please do attach it just like you would to the NOID. Next up, you're going to do your affidavit of service because you need to serve this on the employee. I'm going to mark that off here. So Ashley Spinelli is going to get served this document. You can see that right now her service method is mail, and there is dates that you're going to serve it. I'm going to show you that if I tried to say that I served this earlier, again, you will get that red mark saying that this is an error because you are going to be serving what you are creating right now. You're creating this discontinuance web form, and you need to serve it on the employee. So logically, you can't have served something that you are currently creating. Therefore, that's why you can't do a previous date. It needs to be today or in the future, because if today, for example, was a Saturday, and if you're just working hard on the weekend and you are creating this, but you won't be able to serve it until Monday, you can put the date out to the date that you would serve. So today being the 7th, correct? I have to second guess myself there. I will put that back in and say that that is the date I'm serving the employee. if there was an attorney here that you needed to check, or anyone else on in campus when you're doing the affidavit of service, there are other parties as well that can be checked off here. And it's going to let you know that when I submit this, it's going to be creating and merging this affidavit of service with the document that I'm creating. And it will send an email to all the parties who receive service via campus. So if I was serving other parties, and if they had a method here that mentioned it was campus, they'd be getting the email service that they have agreed to receive. I'm going to go ahead and declare that I am telling the truth here, and I'm going to put in my signature. Today I am Melissa Claim Admin, so I'm going to put my name in there, and I'm going to check the box saying that I am legally signing this electronic form. When I am ready to do all that, I will click my submit button. Oh shoot, I apologize. That didn't happen like it was supposed to.
Melissa, as you're logging back in, I'm going to go ahead. We've got a number of questions in the chat, so we'll go ahead and kind of attack those as you get back to where you were.
Thank you. And I am sorry. I know that there is still development happening as we are going in in fixing, fixing some issues and stuff. So I apologize that didn't work.
So as Melissa's getting back into that, I'll just go ahead. I'll take care of these questions, Melissa, while you get to where you need to go. So a question here: if we as a carrier choose not to use our EDI vendor, and rather would like to e-file directly in campus, how do we submit that information? So if you're updating your submission method from campus to or from EDI to campus, you can simply send that information to our EDI team via the EDI email address. We can provide that information in the chat at the bottom here. There is also a training that was conducted that shows you exactly how you would go about submitting those e-forms. So I can also put a link to that in the chat. Who sends the first report of injury to the employee, the insurer, or the state? The claim administrator would be who submits it. So whoever filed the information is who should be submitting it. The state would not, or should be sending it. The state would not be sending that to the employee on behalf of you all. What do you mean by legal service required for the forms on page 7? It would be the same process as you have today for those forms that you're supposed to be serving on the employee. So many people just do that via mail. You should retain a copy of anything that you serve with the date served on the employee. A couple more questions here, and Melissa, it looks like you're in a good spot, so I'll let you jump back in and start answering.
Okay. Sure, thanks.
Is there going to be another class like this one, as a few of us did not get on until about 20 minutes into the call? So Melissa will be doing a couple more of these in the next couple of weeks. So there will be one next week at the same date and time, and then the following week at the same date and time. And additionally, we will have the recording of this session. It likely will not get posted until tomorrow. It takes WebEx a little while to generate those videos.
Yes, and I would also state that in future demos, we're getting a lot of questions, and that's so great. We want to get those questions and get those answered. But if we find a time in a future demo where we don't have a lot of questions and we have some time at the end, anyone is welcome to say, like, if we're getting ready to wrap up and you want to jump on and say, you know what, could you please go through that discontinuous web form again? Or we really want to talk more about this or that. I'd be happy to stay on through the whole time of the meeting, even if we're ending early, to repeat some information if anyone would find that helpful.
And in addition, so what Melissa's doing right now, she's just kind of giving you guys a demo based on some of the feedback that we've received from this group. There will still be the trainings, as she mentioned at the beginning. So this definitely is not meant as a full replacement for training. It's just kind of a supplement. So don't worry if for some reason something seems a little bit difficult to comprehend right now. I believe all of this should be covered in training as well. So just so everyone's aware. A couple more questions for you, Melissa. Does the discontinuance web form go hand in hand with the EDI suspension filing?
Great question. Yes, and I apologize. I should have been more clear on that when I first started. The discontinuance web form is done in addition to the EDI filing when appropriate. So that means, again, this is not required on all suspensions. If you are suspending benefits because an employee is returning to work, great. We don't need the discontinuance web form for those situations. It is the situation when the employee's benefits are being discontinued for reasons other than return to work. And in those cases, if it is a full suspension and you are filing the SX, it might be a partial suspension. Let's say that you are currently paying permanent partial disability benefits and temp partial disability benefits, and you're discontinuing the temp partial. So you're filing that PX, the partial suspension, for reasons other than return to work. In that case, you would do it. And same with the CB if you're changing benefits. For example, if you have ongoing temp total that you are going to discontinue for reasons other than to return to work, and immediately start with PPD benefits because you have that all set up and ready to go, and you're just filing the CB to change. Any of those three situations, you do have to file the EDI submission, and then this discontinuance web form is in addition to that. But again, only in those situations. This is not for every suspension. This is for the cases other than return to work.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah.
Next question. If an MTC does not return a form, what is to be sent or served on the employee?
Yep, if there's no form returned, but it is something that you need to alert the employee about, it's your business process that you currently would use. For example, let me look at that list here so I can think of a better example. Is the, if I go down, I was thinking RB would be, yep. So here is a RB, like a reinstatement of benefit. For those more familiar with our current forms, think of the notice of benefit reinstatement. There's not a form returned, but if you needed a copy to the employee, you need to let them know that you're reinstating benefits, and likely that involves a check being sent to them and probably some information. It might be a letter that your office sends to say, hey, we're reinstating this benefit. Here's your first check. So that is how you would go ahead and let the employee know.
Awesome. Okay, next question. When filing a Box 3 NOID, will there be more lines available than what is on the current document providing reasons for discontinuance? I can say right off the bat that I know it's 500 characters that are available on the form, but we do allow for the attachments.
Yes. So if you have, and we see it frequently, we know what happens, that you have a little bit longer of a reason that you need to upload, just have that ready to go, and you can use it as one of the attachments, and include that. You can have multiple attachments on the discontinuance web form. So.
Thank you, Melissa. In the example that you were running through, would you pay through 10.7 or 10.8? Can the discontinuance web form be printed and served on all parties the day that it is completed?
Yes, I'm going to show you where you can go and print it in just a moment here. And yes, you do pay through data service. So again, my example, since I'm kind of was piecing together a claim from before, it's not real data. Of course, maybe I should have pointed that out at the beginning. This is a character from a cartoon show, so it is not an actual claim or personal information you're looking at. But the dates I used for like the actual discontinuance happening in 2019. But when you are filing a discontinuance for reasons other than return to work, you do pay through the data service. So today being 10.7, you would pay through 10.7.
Awesome, thanks.
Oh, yep. Sorry, I think I interrupted you. Was there more questions right now?
There was one that I think kind of piggybacks with that, and I think it might answer it the way that you, or what you're going to show might answer this one. Does campus then send the form to the parties?
So yeah, if someone is receiving service through campus, they have said, I will allow service through campus. On that affidavit of service kind of click through where you could select who's being served, it will say their method. If it said campus, then yes, they would receive an email through campus that they're being served. In this case, the employee receives via mail. And so I will show you quick here on the confirmation saying that we submitted this. You can click straight to your form history. You can click straight to the document, but I'm going to go ahead into my form history here and look at on my form tab. You can see that the NOID here, the discontinuance web form here was submitted on today's date. And you also have this, again, this JCN or claim campus file number listed here. just for the ease of things, I am going to open. You can always click on the link, but I am right-clicking right now to open in a new tab. I find that sometimes is easier just for me, for demonstration purposes even, to be able to kind of toggle back and forth here. But then here is my discontinuance form. Again, if you can bear with me, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. I think it's a little bit easier to show that you can see. Again, you can see that WID number, the EE number, and the information here about the web form. And then right up here is this print button that you are going to be able to print it off. And you will see, I'm going to scroll a little bit here so you can see both pages of that discontinuance web form, the 239 conference information, as well as the affidavit of service is listed here. If you scroll down on the page, you will see the related attachments. You can see the medical report that I attached, as well as an address label, if it's helpful for your convenience to be able to mail out that document.
All right. Another question that I think kind of goes along with this one. Will the discontinuance web form link to the EDI suspension so you would know that both were completed?
That both were completed. Well, if I will show you if I go in, so I'm just going to pretend like if I've logged in here for the first time. Oh, that's right. And I'm on my claims, and I can find the claim that I would want to be at that I just filed on. I'm going to click on that. If you go to the actual claim, you will be able to see in the tabs here, like the reporting history, for example, shows you all the EDI that's come in successfully. And then you can also have on the documents tab, you can see that the discontinuance came in with 2 attachments. So from the claim, you would be able to see both things that were successfully submitted and the date that they came in on.
Thanks, Melissa. A
Sure.
couple more questions here. If someone other than the case owner is completing the discontinuance web form, should they enter their name or the case owner's name when signing?
I believe that it should be the person who is completing the form.
Yes,
Is
this
that
is what
okay?
actually, prohibit it.
Yeah.
Has to match your profile. So, yep,
Yes.
absolutely right.
Good.
A couple more questions. Do we not need to put in payment information any longer that's on the backside of the NOID?
On the discontinuance web form, you do not, because all that information will be coming in on the EDI filing. So in this case, a suspension came in that had the benefit information already listed in there. And you could also go back and look at like the EDI filing and look at the data if you needed to. But yeah, that the payment information is coming in via EDI. We really have the discontinuance web form as a supplement because, again, with our requirements in the Minnesota rules and in statute, we needed to have a method where you were able to submit the information and pay through the same date and serve the employee all at once. And there were just some limitations to the EDI that we couldn't make happen without this extra web form. So we didn't want to make you repeat all the information twice and put the payment information there. We will get the payment information on EDI. And actually, so if we receive this web form and someone in our compliance department is looking at it and we look at the claim and say, oh, we got this web form, but we never received the actual EDI, we're going to write and say, hey, where is the suspension to go with that? And same with the opposite. If we see that suspension come in for a reason other than return to work and there's not the discontinuance web form to go along with it, we will write and ask for that as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. A couple more questions. These two actually, I think, go hand in hand. So I'll read through both of them. So the first one is, if I email the forms to the employee, does their email need to be in campus? So they need to sign up, or can I just add the employee's email address? And then the second one is, can you edit the employee address to include the employee's email so that service can be done via EDI, which I think was intended to say via campus to the employee?
Mm-hmm. So as far as the affidavit of service goes, if the employee is not agreed to service within campus, if it's the mail, then we're not going to put the email address in there to email to them because the employee hasn't agreed to it.
Yeah, Melissa, you're totally right. Just to clarify with that, essentially what happens is when you sign up for a campus account, you opt into e-service. It's part of our terms and conditions. So if an employee has not signed up for campus, then they have not opted in for e-service. So they would need to register for campus, sign up before email service would be available. A couple more here. Let's see here. For the Affidavit of Service, if NA is selected for the user indicating that they accept forms via email, can you confirm that we do not need to then mail the generated form to these parties? I think NA might be in there right now just because it's users that don't have an address associated with them for some reason, which would not occur because all of the parties would have some sort of address via EDI. If they are going to receive electronic service, it would specify on that service form that you're kind of completing that it is to be electronically served. And Melissa, do you want to pull up that document just to show them where it says that on the affidavit as well?
Sure, I can do that. I'll go back into my documents here. And, oh, you know what? I think I already had it open in another tab, but wait for that to pop up. Here we go. Here's the Affidavit of Service. Is that what you were looking for? Sorry.
Yes, if you want to scroll to the bottom of that, it should, all the way to the bottom in the affidavit, it should tell you who received it via electronic means, and who, so this might not be a great example, but usually what will happen is, oh, there we go. So yeah, it shows Ashley received it via mail. If we had additional people who received it via email, it would show that they were electronically served. So when in doubt, you can always look at your affidavit of service and see who you might need to send it to in the mail. Let's see, a couple more questions. There's a question to run through the interim status report process. That would actually be an EDI transmission, so I think we'd need to mock up some data before we could show that process.
But that's good. We can take down that information for maybe some future training.
Sure.
And if it's someone who is doing, of course, the e-forms and are curious just how to submit that on like the e-form in campus, then check out that training that's available too for the e-form submitters. That could be helpful as well.
All right, another question. Does the employee request for administrative conference go out with the NOID? I believe it does. If you want to scroll up a little, Melissa.
Yep, it is. Yeah, there we go. Right there. That should go out on every NOID, yes.
Okay, another one. So EDI is required on all claims, but how the forms are filed is based on how we are registered.
It's based on how your trading partner is registered. So if you are a trading partner that is submitting directly or using a vendor, your business made that decision to submit in that way. You can talk with your vendor, or if you're doing it direct connect, talk with your team on how it's submitting. A lot of times, like the e-form filers are often either smaller companies or maybe don't have a whole lot of claims every year, might have other reasons, but they have opted and chosen to do the e-form filing where they kind of data enter the information in campus.
Thanks, Melissa. Couple more here. Should we encourage employees to register for campus? I believe that we actually, as the department, we send out a brochure, and I believe that that will have some information regarding campus. Is that correct, Melissa?
Absolutely. Yep. We will be doing that for whenever we receive a claim. We would send out a brochure anyway, and so now we can include some information about campus and encourage them to sign up. And you can also make sure that they are educated and know about the option to sign up for campus. A lot of people will probably find it very convenient to have that service, for example, instead of mail. It's quick, it's fast, it's easy. So I think that that will be a great option that you can tell your employees about.
Awesome. And I think that actually covered another question I have here that says, how is the employee notified that campus is an option for email or regular mail addresses? I think Melissa just covered that. If we change the employee's address in our system, will it automatically change in campus?
That is going to depend on your system. If you are a trading partner that is, again, a direct connect or a vendor and doing EDI submissions, then your programming in your system, your team, your vendor's team has created the programming to say, if you change this field, we should trigger off a form to give the change or not. If you are a e-form filer, where you come in and you data enter the information into the eFROI or eSHROI, then no, you would need to proactively come and actually create the document to make those changes. So that is a question you'll want to be sure to talk with your vendor about, or your EDI team if you are not using a vendor.
Thanks, Melissa. A couple more here. So could you just repeat what you said earlier regarding if a maintenance type code does not return a form, what is to be sent or served on the employee?
Sure. You probably already have a business process in place for if it's not a form that is bounced back by us. There might be a letter that you send to inform an employee of something, or like the check, for example, when something is when benefits are being reinstated. So when you are required to at least copy an employee on an action such as a reinstatement, you're going to be alerting the employee by means of paying them and explaining that check to them. So most likely you already have something set up where you will send that new check and say, hey, we're reinstating your benefits. Here's the information you need.
All right. Thanks, Melissa. Couple more. Will Minnesota accept the FROI 04, or will it require a FROI 00 followed by a SHROI 04?
We are requiring the FROI 00 followed by the SHROI 04. And for those who maybe aren't as familiar with the EDI terms, that means you always filed the FROI first. The 00 is the original FROI. The 04s are the denials. In EDI land, there is a FROI 04 where you can deny liability on the FROI 04, but we are requiring that you file the first report of injury, EDI, and then followed up with the subsequent report of injury denial 04 in those cases.
Awesome. Few more here. Is the employee information sheet going to be updated with campus information? We can take that away and confirm with the people who kind of own that form what exactly will be updated, but I imagine the answer is yes. Couple more. I'm assuming the claim admin will give specific access in campus. So if our support unit files a discontinuance web form, will they be able to view the entire claim or be able to search for any claim? Or will only the claim handler be associated with the claim be able to view it? Do you want me to take that one, Melissa?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, so this is actually something that we'll cover in our group management training. So if you are signed up as a group administrator for your company, I would highly encourage you to sign up for that training because we'll go through this in depth. Essentially, what you can do, you have the ability to bulk assign access to any users that are associated to your group. So in this specific instance, if you need your support unit to have access to all the files, you can absolutely do that. Same with all of your claim handlers. You can just give them access to every file in campus. What I know a lot of companies are planning to do is just give access to all of their adjusters. And if for some reason there's like a conflict of interest, or there's some claim that a specific adjuster should not be able to see for some reason, they are just revoking access on that one claim. So it's very flexible. You can grant access one by one, but obviously going to be a little bit more efficient to just grant access to everyone in your group and then remove access as necessary. So again, highly recommend that if you are someone who is going to be kind of doling out that claim access, that you sign up for that group admin training.
Hey, Angie.
Yeah.
Quick follow-up question on that. So would that include then claims as they continue to get new claims get assigned? Is it kind of like bulk? It's not just existing bulk claims, it's bulk access for even new claims coming in the door?
Bulk access for all the claims that are associated to you. So yeah, it
Okay.
would, so once you file your update reports, it would show all of your claims. And then you can bulk edit it so that they can have access to any claims. And again, like I said, we'll cover that a lot more in depth for like the group administrators who actually need to be doing that. But it is a pretty simple process. It's nice to just be able to kind of give them all access all at once.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. A couple more here. In a prior training, it was indicated that if your company does things by EDI, then you don't do campus forms except for the NOID Box 3. Is that correct?
So the NOID Box 3 is what we showed here with the discontinuance web form, but there are a couple other, there are a few things that you would do in campus, again, just due to EDI limitations. There are some situations where you are going to need to file a web form beyond the discontinuance web form. So we'll show you the benefit addendum web form, hopefully in a few minutes here. Next week, I plan to show the PPD web form and the dependency web form. So while the vast majority of data is being sent in via EDI, there are a few situations where you are going to come in to campus, and that's what we're hoping to kind of walk you through in these demos.
Thanks, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
And then just one more question. When and where is the group administrator training? Is it currently on the list? So yes, it should be on that training list that Melissa was showing earlier. I'll copy and paste that link in the chat again, just for anybody who might have joined late. But those are set up for 10/14 and 10/21 currently, and they will also be recorded.
And are they in the afternoon, Angie?
I believe that they are set up from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock on the 14th and the 21st. Yes.
Perfect. So the same day that we'll have some answer hours as well, but at different times, which is good.
Awesome. That I am all caught up in the chat.
Okay, I'm going to quick speak on to the next thing, and by all means, keep the questions coming. That's what we're here for, but I am going to try and get through one more web form in the time we have left here. So I'm going to go ahead and click into a claim, but I am also going to show you real quick, just by means, because visually speaking, I kind of like the visuals of this calendar here to kind of explain why we're going to do the benefit addendum web form. So a benefit addendum web form is going to be required upon request. You might go your entire time using campus and not have to do this. That would be great. We will love that if that happens. But this is something that there would be situations where you're going to have the request to fill out this web form, and so we want you to understand why and how. So I'm going to show you a hypothetical claim here again, where a date of injury of February 1st and the first day of lost time was February 20th. So I've highlighted in yellow the times that this employee was off work. And in this situation, the employee is off work until April 9th, comes back to work for this white time in between here, and then leaves work again and ultimately returns on the 8th, so was out through the 7th of May. In this situation, I'm going to show you where I, as the claim admin, filed of course, my first report of injury. I filed my first payment, but then the next thing I filed was my suspension, suspending benefits all the way up here, suspension effective on May 8th. And I did that and failed to do my suspension of this period of benefits and my reinstatement here. One of the limitations of EDI is when that happens, and if it happens, that you can't go back, you can't file the suspension and all of a sudden reverse course and file the suspension that was first due with the reinstatement. So now we're with a situation where we have a claim where you show this time period from February 20th all the way up to May 7th as being 9 weeks of temp total that you've paid, but we're going to look at it and say, that looks like an 11-week period. What's happening here? Can you give us some more information? And we would request the benefit addendum web form. So if you get a request for that, we're going to start out just like we did with that discontinuance web form. And you're going to go up to submit a filing, and you are going to go down to missing benefits. You will click on save to start your web form here. All right, so here I am on my correct claim, and I am going to click on the benefit period to determine which period of benefits I am amending. And so I am going to be looking at this first period was like that first payment of 220 through 35, but I missed something in the second period here, so I'm selecting it. and then I can just click off of it and it's accepted, and I will click on next. All right, so for this time period, I need to add in some information. So I'm going to click Add Benefit, and I am going to say that this is temporary total, because that is what was being paid. And my start date was, I'm going to give the whole period of time here of these benefits. So the first day of lost time being 2/20/2019, and we paid through 04/09 of 2019, which was 7 weeks, 0 days. My gross weekly amount being $600, and so my total amount paid during this time period, $4,200. So this was my first period here, and you can also add in changes here if there is anything like a adjustment, credit, redistribution that you need to add in. In this case, if you do that, of course, you go through each field and all of these would be required, but I'm going to go ahead and remove that because that's not the case here. I will say in my narrative that the SX, the suspension for 05/08/2019 was filed before the suspension of 04/10/2019 could be filed. That makes it kind of sound a little less like I screwed up, but I did. So I forgot to file this suspension. I filed my 5/8 suspension. So this is that first period of lost time. I'm now going to add another row to say the second period here, again, being temp total. And my start date of this period was 04/24, oops, sorry about that, 2019 through the 7th for 2 weeks, 0 days, and $1,200. So this is going to explain once submitted why there's a 7-week period and a 2-week period where the benefits I submitted was correct, showing that 9 weeks of benefits should have been paid and it was not the 11 weeks that it looked like because of the missed suspension and reinstatement. I can just copy this here if I want, or put in some other information, and I'm going to click on next. Here, I'm simply copy and pasted in. If you wanted to have some specific information for each of those periods, then kind of generally here, but this is really just giving you a chance to explain what happened. And then you can also upload your attachments. This time I'm going to go ahead and click in the middle here of this drag and drop or click, and I can go into my folder and I can see I have an A. Spinelli timesheet document that I'm going to attach because that is explaining that the employee really was working during that time period, those 2 weeks in between the 2 periods of temp total benefits. So my document categories here, I'm going to go down to the W's and do a wage statement is what I'm going to say. And again, you can edit this field if it's helpful to put in some more information, oops, before you hit upload, which you will do to upload your document, I believe. And it's because I'm going a little slow here. Sorry, guys, when I'm clicking all over the place. And so I'm going to go ahead and just cancel at this time just for the sake of, oops. There we go. For the sake of getting through this, I'm going to try it one more time to see if I can get it to upload. And if not, I will just go on without it, which is fine. You can watch me do it one more time. Hopefully that's a little bit helpful. Oops, sorry about that. Help you. Actually click on it, which is helpful, and then click upload. Okay, well, I'm going to move on, and I will log that in for something we can look at later. But you can go ahead and upload your documents there, and then click your submit form. Oh, sorry about that, everyone.
The joys of working in a system in test right now. While Melissa's getting back into that, there are a couple questions in the chat. I'll go ahead and kind of handle those while you're getting back in, Melissa.
Thank you.
And apologies, sometimes if we're doing these long explanations of processes, sometimes things can time out. So thanks for kind of bearing with us. So there was a question. I noticed that your payment calendar does not include weekends, which is confusing when employees work irregular hours or 24-hour shifts over the weekend. I am assuming we can suspend on the weekends. Yes. So Melissa was just showing as an example a 5-day work week. So that was not meant to encompass every employee situation. Obviously, we have people with variable work weeks or 7-day workers or 4-day workers, all of that. So yes, you absolutely can suspend benefits on a weekend. You would just need to make sure that you complete all the correct processes associated with that. And then another one, what will a notice look like telling the claims adjuster that a benefit addendum web form is needed? So my understanding is that it will look the same as it would now when you guys get a letter from our compliance unit. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with those requests for information. We call them internally C27s, but my understanding is that the letter will look very similar. The major difference is that you would get that request for information notification via campus. So I believe that that is something that Melissa is planning to demo next week for you all, how to respond to those.
Yep, I don't know if I'll get to it next week, but there is a training session actually specifically dedicated to that.
Perfect.
But also, if I do have time in a demo, I'd be very happy to demo that as well. Okay. And thanks for bearing with me, everyone, as I got it through successfully this time, which I wanted to do because then I want to be able to show you where it's in your form history as well. So, were there other questions? So I kind of click around here. Oh, okay, great.
That was it. One thing I do just want to clarify, though, I typed it in the chat, but there was a question about, are the trainings repeated? So if two trainings have the same name on that list, you can assume that it will be the same content. Obviously, since it's a live training, there may be some differences as far as questions or things of that nature, but you can assume that the general content will be the same if they are named the same. Otherwise, no other questions, Melissa.
Perfect. Ooh. And let's see here. So I was going to show them the form here. And 6 days. When I flew through that so quickly, is this red text, Angie, sorry to ask you a question on a call, but is the red text going to be viewable to them as well? Or is this something that just because I'm an internal user is showing?
I believe that this would be visible to everyone just because you're logged in as an external user. So this would definitely be something that would be available to everyone.
Thank you. Okay. But here I can at least show you that it shows the different time periods here of the 7 weeks and then the 2 weeks that we paid with the amount that was paid. So that, again, this is really meant for the compliance officer to be able to go in and look at the claim and understand why you paid 9 weeks of temp total benefits in total for an 11-week period. And it was because of those 2 weeks in between that temp total was not due for. And then they could also click here and download the timesheet that you had uploaded. So that was, I believe, sorry, very quick, especially with time as it is, and then with that technical difficulty I had there. But that is the submission of the benefit addendum web form that, again, would be required upon request. You don't need to come in here on your own to do this. It would just be when we request it because of an issue that we're seeing in the benefits being paid on a claim. Were there any other questions related to that or the discontinuance web form or anything else that we've talked about today?
I don't see anything new in the chat. But as we mentioned earlier, if there are questions after this answer hour, please feel free to send them to that DLI website or email address. I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and I'll put that in the chat as well as our EDI Teams email for those of you who needed to make updates to your trading partner profile information.
And I think I was just going to move on to this slide here, and more questions might be coming in, but so this is on the screen as well. with some help desk information and the web or the email address that Angie has been talking about, but also a reminder that we've got 2 answer hours coming up next week on Wednesday and the following week on Wednesday, same time, that we'll be going through some more of these. The quick reference guides will get out to you and then go through the other 2 web forms next week. And then that following week, the 3rd week, I have some thoughts on some of the things I'd like to show you, such as responding to a request for information, but also if more questions come up or if you guys have some real specifics that you'd like me to demo, we are open to suggestion, and I can kind of pivot and hopefully incorporate what you guys would most like to see in that final demo before the go live date.
If we have time, can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
So on that discontinuance web form itself, so we know when we signed the affidavit of service, it was the person who was actually filling out the form.
Mhm.
But the discontinuance web form itself, does it have somewhere in there that has like the case owner's name and phone number? And if so, is that pulled from from an EDI transaction? Just want to make sure that that would have our case owner's name and number versus, let's say, support staff who's actually doing the proof of service or the affidavit of
Gotcha.
service.
That's an interesting question. Let me take a look here at the discontinuance that we just created. Oh, scroll up a little bit here. So I know it would have down here the insurer information and the claim rep name. I'm trying to recall, and Angie, feel free to jump in if this linked from what I filled out just now as when I signed off on it, or if this is the claim rep name from the claim.
I apologize. I was just typing in the chat. So yeah, so it's going to pull from, I believe it's going to pull from the EDI transaction when the form is generated. It does look like it says claim representative name and it pulls from whomever is associated, but we'll need to verify that just because I'm guessing that Melissa put herself as the claim administrator on the EDI transaction as well.
Yeah, so that doesn't help, sorry.
Yeah, we can verify that and answer that next week.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have someone helping to take down some questions right now too. I'll circle back to that on our next answer hour. We'll find out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks for the question.
And there was a question just about the external training manual I want to add, and I posted a link to that in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
This is a really good one, Melissa, if you want to walk through this. How do we notify the state if a claim is a UCWCP claim? We currently stamp the NOPLD, the NOID, etc. before sending it to the state. Will there be a field for us to complete?
Oh, goodness. Now I'm really going to be on the spot because, yes, there's a way that you will be able to submit that via EDI data. And Angie, if you know offhand, otherwise I think I'm going to have to go back in my notes just so I don't mess it up to answer that. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I can answer that. So there is a data element that is available for that, but unfortunately we have a little bit of a shortcoming where we can't actually accept the DN itself. So what you would do to submit that information, and this is actually on our, I believe this is in our FAQs and in our implementation guide, just the outlining of this process. You would actually use those, we would actually use those managed care data elements. So let me grab the exact information to explain it. I believe that how it works is that you would indicate that it is a managed care organization, and then you would select 06 for your managed care type. So you can report it as entering, I'm going to read this exactly, by sending the value of 06 in DN 0207 and code 4 in DN 0208. Now, if for some reason you are unable to do something like that, or your system is not going to allow for that, you may also send us a narrative transaction, an EDI narrative transaction that just lets us know that it's a UCWCP claim. I will say that will not flag them nearly as quickly as if you indicate in the managed care DNs that 06 and 207 and code 4 and 208. But that just gives us another avenue if for some reason your system is not capable of sending that information.
Thank you, Angie. I knew I was going to mess up some of those values if I tried to do it offhand, but I did put it up on the screen as well by going through our training information and FAQ document on our website. So if anyone wants a quick screenshot what you're seeing, feel free if that helps.
This is also available on that training link that
yes,
up above that's in our FAQ document. Another question, if we have these types of technical difficulties, what are our options, in particular issues with downloading support documents, etc.? I will say you should not be experiencing the sort of things that Melissa has experienced. Keep in mind, as we mentioned earlier, we are actively testing the system right now, which means that if defects like that are identified, that means that developers are actively pushing code. And so a process may time out or something may not work as anticipated. Once we're in production with campus, those should be very few and far between, if ever, where you're experiencing something like that. But if you do, we do have a help desk, as Melissa has up here. You can contact that help desk and they will get you to the correct people so that we can fix that issue and document it.
And if we did find there was some sort of a system-wide issue with that, the help desk is going to be able to push that through to the minute people and the IT people who need to do like a big solution if there happen to be a big problem kind of thing. But yes, we are, with all the work and coding right now, I'm sorry that it's happening at the same time as the training. I do apologize. It's frustrating, but we don't anticipate that being an issue when you guys log in.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. All right. I don't see anything else in the chat at the moment.
Okay. Well, I think we will probably wrap it up then. Oh, I think there was maybe something. I see little previews flashing. I can't always see the questions, but even if we do drop off in the next minute or two here, I am happy to stay on. We only have a few minutes left, but I will stay on just in case anyone is still typing. But thanks everyone for attending. I do appreciate your participation in this answer hour.
Melissa, we do have one question that I think would be beneficial for you to just address to the group.
Sure.
Is there a time deadline for EDI and web form filing? For example, if information is submitted at 6 p.m. on a weekday, would that still be considered timely?
Oh, yeah, good question on that. So, you know what? This is one of those things where I know we had conversations about this, but when I've had 200 other important conversations, my recollection is failing me here. We always had the 4:30 cutoff. Was the decision made to go right up until 11:59, Angie?
I believe that is the case. So I believe that you, as long as it's filed on that same day, we'll have record of it being filed. The difference right now between campus and what we do right now is if you send something via fax or mail, it has to be manually stamped by someone in our department, which was the reason for that cutoff. We don't have people at DLI 24 hours a day stamping those items. So I think that was kind of the logic there. Something really important to keep in mind with that, though, is that service requirements are still going to apply. So if it's something that you can't serve until the following day and you file it at 11:59, your date of service needs to be reflective of when you actually do serve that document.
Thank you, Angie.
Awesome. I don't see any other questions. So yeah, we can hang on for the next couple minutes here, Melissa, if you want. And otherwise, we'll see everyone next week.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.